agree on some point of how to interpret or understand something, still we shouldn't find fault with each other. That shouldn't turn into a big argument. We can, as in our process of study, may we have harmony together. So this interesting request, may we not find fault with one another. This is our sankalpa, our stated resolve for our study this evening. And I think perhaps some of you remember from time to time we have this class on Upanishadic meditation when Swami Sarvadevananji is out of town and he can't, he has asked me to conduct this particular class. So I have chosen, because Tuesday night is reserved for Jnana Yoga. So taking the idea behind this class is that we take selected verses from the Upanishads and we'll chant them together in Sanskrit, and we'll also understand the English meaning, and then we will take that verse and meditate on it and take 5 minutes or so of silent meditation, trying to grasp the purport of the verse on a deeper level in our hearts rather than in our minds. Let it sink deep into our hearts. This is the way actually to study Upanishads, to really understand them deeply, because the mantras themselves are extremely powerful and they are the utterances of realized sages. They have the power to awaken us. So they have the power to bring a deep understanding, a realization to our hearts. That's why I love this kind of study of the Upanishad. So the Katha Upanishad also is special because it's Swami Vivekananda's favorite Upanishad. And like many Upanishads, it also takes the form of a dialogue. Ultimately, the dialogue between the seeker, the questioner, and the teacher. And the seeker in this case is a young boy named Nachiketa, and the teacher is Yama, the god of death. So we're going to take the first 3 verses, then we're going to skip some verses. Uh-oh, this got turned upside down. We're going to take the first 3 verses and then let's start. And I think the best way for us to do this is for me to chant the verse first, and then we'll break it down into pieces so we can all chant it together and learn it. And then we will meditate. Om Ushanhavai Vajashravasah Sarvaveda Samdadau Tasyaha Nachiketa Nama Putra Asa. So this is the introductory verse. This may not have the deep meaning we are looking for yet, but because it's the first verse, we can't skip it. So let's break it up. Om Ushanhavai. Now after I say that, you repeat after me. Om Ushanhavai. There are extra pamphlets if you want to take one. Yes. Om Ushanhavai. Om Ushanhavai Vajashravasah. Vajashravasah Sarvaveda Samdadau. Sarvaveda Samdadau. Tasyaha Nachiketa Nama Putra Asa. Okay, so there was this man, this householder named Vajashravasah, and he wanted to perform a sacrifice. He performed a sacrifice. He wanted the fruits of this sacrifice, and this sacrifice is called the Vishwajit sacrifice, in which everything you own is to be given away. Everything. You have to give everything that you own away. This is really a very sacrifice of very high order. And he had a son, a putra, named Nachiketa. I think you can even say Tasya of this person, Vajashrotha. He had a son, Nachiketa Nama Putra Asa. There was a son. He had a son named Nama, named Putra, son, Nachiketa. His son was named Nachiketa. So these next two verses, maybe we do them together because they go together. Tam hukumaram santam dakshinasu niyamanasu shraddha vivesha somanyata. Well, let's do it just two separately and three separately. So, tam hukumaram santam dakshinasu niyamanasu shraddha vivesha somanyata. Okay, so now this is a wonderful second verse already. Tam hakumaram, that into that boy, this what happened? Shraddha avivesha. Shraddha entered Nachiketa's heart. Why? Because as we'll see, his dad was not performing the sacrifice properly. His dad was not giving away everything he owned. He was supposed to give away everything he owns, but he was trying to cheat. He was giving away old cows. Cows were the most precious thing in the Vedic period. They're a symbol of wealth, and they give the milk and all of that. And so he sees that his dad is not giving away the good young milk-giving cows. He's giving away the old cows who are no longer able to give birth or anything or provide milk, and so they're actually, from the standpoint of wealth, they're worthless. So he's not giving away his wealth. He's only giving away in name. He's giving away some cows, but actually they're not. He's not doing the sacrifice properly, and so Shraddha entered the heart of Nachiketa. Let's do the third verse. Pitodaka Jagdhatrina Dugdhadoha Nirindriyaha Anandanama Te lokaha tam sagacchati tadadat. So this is anandanama te lokaha. Those worlds are joyless. Those worlds are joyless. To which one goes, sagacchati. Who gives what? Who gives? This first line is what is being given. Pitodaka. Pitodaka means they have finished drinking water. The udaka is water. So the water has been drunk. In other words, it's an old cow. It's not going to drink anymore. And Jagdhatrina. They have eaten their hay. The hay has been eaten. The grass has been eaten. There's no more. Not going to eat the grass anymore. And dugdhadoha. They have given their milk. Now they're old. They're no longer going to give their milk. So the sort of translation given here by Swami Nikhilananda is the cows who are no longer able to drink, to eat, to give milk, or to calve. But it's actually quite poetic the way it's put. Nirindriyaha, whose their organs are no longer able to function. They're no longer able to have calves. But this pitodaka jagdhatrina dugdhadoha nirindriyaha ananda namate loka stansa gachatita dadata. So this actually is the first section which we're going to take for our meditation. And what is, we may take different parts of it. There's different things we can reflect on here. One is, at least as it occurs to me, and you may also have some thoughts about it. One is this human proclivity for wanting a shortcut, wanting to have our cake and eat it too. This is the case with Nachiketa's father. He wanted the blessings of performing this sacrifice. He wanted the results that would come of performing this tremendous sacrifice, but he didn't want to actually do it. He didn't want to give up everything. He didn't want to give away everything that he owned. And so I think that's a common sentiment in all of our hearts, right? We want to be generous, and we want to be known as a generous person, and we recognize the value of being unselfish and of giving freely without seeking reward. And yet, how difficult it is, because that selfishness creeps in. So this is the case with Nachiketa's father, Vajashravasa. He wanted the results of this sacrifice, but he couldn't actually live up to it. He couldn't do it. So he's performing a sacrifice in name only, not a real sacrifice. So that's something we can really look out for in our own lives. Are we being completely sincere, or are we holding back? Like Sri Ramakrishna's story of the lady who stole the yarn and kept it under her arm, so she couldn't dance with both arms upraised, or the yarn would fall out, and her friend would find that, oh, you've stolen my yarn. So she only danced with one arm upraised, keeping the other arm to her side, hiding the. So how much do we hold back? So that's the first part of this. But this, actually, what's really remarkable about it is that in this young boy, shraddha avivesha. Shraddha, this, and let's read for a moment what Swami Vivekananda says about shraddha. And then maybe this is the perfect introduction to our meditation. Those of you who have studied that most beautiful of all the Upanishads, the Katha, will remember how the king was going to make a great sacrifice. And instead of giving away things that were of any worth, he was giving away cows and horses that were not of any use. And the book says that at that time, shraddha entered into the heart of his son, Nachiketa. I would not translate this word shraddha to you. It would be a mistake. It is a wonderful word to understand, and much depends on it. We will see how it works, for immediately we find Nachiketa telling himself, and this is in the next verses, I am superior to many. I am inferior to few, but nowhere am I the last. I also can do something. And this boldness increased, and the boy wanted to solve the problem which was in his mind, the problem of death. So what we want is this shraddha. What makes the difference between one person and another is the difference in this shraddha and nothing else. What makes one person great and another weak and low is this shraddha. My master used to say, one who thinks oneself weak will become weak, and that is true. This shraddha must enter into you. Whatever of material power you see manifested by the Western races, he's speaking in India, whatever of material power you see manifested in the West is the outcome of this shraddha, because they believe in their muscles. And if you believe in your spirit, how much more will it work? Believe in that infinite soul, the infinite power, which, with consensus of opinion, your books and sages preach. So this is the idea of shraddha, which is not mere faith. It's a kind of deep, intuitive acceptance of the truth of the Spirit, the truth that all the books are teaching us, and a concomitant orientation of our life to that reality, an whole orientation of our life to the goal of realization. That yes, I am spirit. The spirit, the infinite consciousness dwells in all beings, and I must know it. I want to know it, and our whole lives become oriented around that goal of realization, of service, of attaining wisdom and devotion. So that is shraddha, and that entered into this boy Nachiketa. And that is really the wonderful thing. And so having that shraddha, he thought he also has this love for his father. And he recognizes that it's not good for dad. Dad is, if he does this kind of sacrifice, he's going to go to a place of misery. It's actually going to bring him suffering. So that's these three ideas here in these three verses. On the one hand, the shortcut to enjoyment, which doesn't ultimately work, and second, this shraddha, which this young boy Nachiketa had, and at the same time, his love and regard for his father, who's kind of a cheater, and his concern for his dad, that his dad is actually going to bring misery on himself. So, shall we try chanting it together slowly? Let's try chanting these three verses together slowly. Om Ushan Havai Vajashravasah Sarva Veda Samdadau Tasya Nachiketa Nama Putra Asa Tamha Kumaram Santam Dakshinasu Niyamanasu Shraddha Vivesha Soamanyata Pitodaka Jagdhatrina Dugdhadoha Nirindriyaha Anandanamate Loka Stam Sagachati Tadadata. Vajashravasa, desiring rewards, performed the Vishvajit sacrifice, in which he gave away all his property. He had a son named Nachiketa. When the gifts were being distributed, shraddha entered into the heart of Nachiketa, who was still a boy. He said to himself, "Joyless surely are the worlds to which he goes who gives away cows, no longer able to drink, to eat, to give milk, or to calve." So it'll take about 5 minutes. And we can, if you like, you can repeat the words of the mantra to yourself, or even that one line, Shraddha Vivesha. by the by, if we have any comments or questions or revelations, feel free to pipe up. Okay, so now what comes next? Nachiketa speaks up and talks to his dad, and he says, and here you get more of this shraddha, more glimpses of this intense orientation of this boy to truth, and so let's chant the fourth verse.
Hey, you get to the bathroom when you're done?
Yeah, we're busy now.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're busy.
All right.
Yeah. Sahovacha Pitaram tatakasmai mam dasyasiti Kasmai mam dasyasiti. Okay. Dvitiyam Tritiyam Tam hovacha Mrityave Tva Dadamiti. Okay. Sahovacha. He said to his dad, Dad, to whom are you going to give me? So he's trying to make up for his dad's failure here in the gifts that he's giving in the sacrifice. He's saying, well, Dad, to whom are you giving me? Dad keeps quiet. He's annoyed. Oh, is this little whippersnapper my kid? He should be obediently listening to me. He shouldn't be questioning me. But this faith has entered into Nachiketa, this faith that is totally oriented to truth. And he's like, Dad's not doing the right thing. So that overcomes this traditional respect that you would have for your dad to just keep quiet. And so he challenges his dad, Dad, to whom are you going to give me? This is a way of saying, Dad, you didn't do the sacrifice right. You should give me away also. And dvitiyam, tritiyam, second time and third time he asks, which means Dad didn't answer. And then tam hovacha, to him said his dad, Mrityave tva dadami. Mrityave tva dadami. And that means, to you I give to death. In other words, basically, go to hell or something like that. The ancient equivalent of go to hell. Mrityave tva dadami. The iti at the end of it means thus he spoke. This is like unquote. Iti means quote or unquote. You could say so. Tam hovacha mrityave tva dadami. I give you to death. So now let's see this next verse. What would this do to a young boy? This would be painful. No, your dad basically says, "Go to hell. I give you to death." That's a painful thing. But look at this shraddha of Nachiketa, which Swami Vivekananda appreciates so much. Bahunam emi pratamaha. Bahunam emi pratamaha. Bahunam emi madhyamaha. Bahunam emi madhyamaha. Kim swid yamasya kartavyam yanmayadya karishyati. Okay. Bahunam, among many, I am pratamaha. I am the first. I'm the first among many. Or at least, bahunam emi madhyamaha. Or at least, among many, I am in the middle. But in other words, I'm not at the last. I'm not. I'm certainly not an inferior person. So that's actually implied by the text. It's not directly there in the Sanskrit. Bahunam emi pratamaha, bahunam emi madhyamaha. I am among many, I am at the forefront of people, or at least in the middling. I'm not one of the worst of people. So he has this kind of faith. And then he says, Kim Swid, what purpose could it be for Yama, by my father giving me to Yama? What purpose can there be for that? So he's questioning, Dad is sending me to death. But at the same time, he's so truthful, so dedicated to truth, so much shraddha. His whole being is oriented towards being truthful. And so he realizes, well, Dad is sending me to death. I have to go. Dad has spoken. Even though he spoke only in anger and he didn't really mean it, still, Nachiketa has that shraddha. He's going to go. And then he says, he reminds his dad. He says, Anupashya yatha purve pratipashya tatha pare sasyamiva martyaha pachyate sasyamiva ajayate punaha. Okay. So he says, he points out that just like corn ripens, and of course then the plant dies, and then again it springs up again. I wonder if corn is the right translation. We would have to look that up, sasyam, because corn comes from the Americas, and at that time in India there was no corn as we know it today, at least, but some kind of grain, maybe a grain.
The Latin root of corn literally just means grain. So if you use it in that context, it could just mean grain.
So it's some kind of grain, just as grain ripens and it again, and of course dies, the plant dies, and like corn is born again. So he's reminding his dad, look back and see how it was before, and how it is with people now who are with us. We die, we grow old, we die, and again we are reborn. So this is a little bit of a reflection. These three verses capture, to my mind, on the one hand, this intense shraddha of Nachiketa, that he's going to be truthful. If Dad says he's going to go to death, he's got to go. And still this faith in himself, that I am not a nobody, I am somebody. I am the first, or at least the middlemost. I'm not one of the losers. I'm okay, I'm good, that faith he has in himself, which Swami Vivekananda wanted us to have, faith in ourselves. And wondering, why is my dad giving me to death? But then he speaks to his dad, and so it tells him, see, death is inevitable, as before it was now. Let's see if there's any, there's a nice little commentary here from Swami Sarvananda. And he's quoting the commentator, Shankara. The commentator tells us that Nachiketa, finding no reason as to why his father should desire to give him to Yama, came to the conclusion that he must have told so in anger. Yet, a father's word must not be infringed, Nachiketa thought. And so he came and told his father what is mentioned in this verse, by way of an exhortation to him not to swerve from truth for the sake of an ephemeral life which is bound to decay in course of time, and hence to keep his word by actually sending him to Yama. Okay. Any questions or comments before we take these verses for second round of meditation? Okay, let's chant them together slowly. Just a second here. Sahovacha. We'll do it together. Do you think we can you handle it? Shall we do a call and response once more? Okay, once more. Sahovacha. Pitaram tatakasmai. Mam dasyasiti. Dvitiyam tritiyam. Tam hovacha. Mrityave tvadadami. Iti. Bahunamimi pratamaha. Bahunamimi madhyamaha. Kim svidyamasya kartavyam. Kim svidyamasya kartavyam. Yanmayadya karishyati. Anupashya yatha purve. Pratipashya tatha pare. Sasyamiva martyaha. Pachyate. Sasyamiva. Ajayate punaha. He said to his father, "Father, to whom will you give me?" He said this a second and a third time. Then his father replied, "Unto death I will give you. Among many I am the first, or among many I am the middlemost, but certainly I am never the last. What purpose of the king of death will my father serve today by thus giving me away to him?" And Nachiketa says to his father, "Look back and see how it was with those who came before us, and observe how it is with those who are now with us. A mortal ripens like corn, and like corn he springs up again." Any comments or? Yes, we have 2 comments. Lisa?
It seems like Nachiketa seems to be pretty well aware that his father threw those words out. It seems that Nachiketa is very aware that his father threw those words out as more like a careless, be quiet child. But that Nachiketa's shraddha is of such strength that he's also aware that, Father, there's a lesson in here for you.
Yeah. And Govinda also had something to say.
Hi, so I want to see if I understand. So is it basically saying that the father told him to go to death, and then the son was that like a realization, the one that he says about the corn?
He's actually teaching his dad. He's telling his dad, see dad, basically he's saying, see dad, everybody dies, everything dies. So you told me to go to death, okay, I'm going to go. To fulfill your words. And then the next part of the Upanishad I want to summarize, because I want to get to one more meaty mantra, the 20th mantra, the 20th verse of the Upanishad. So what happens next, as most of us, those of us who have read the Upanishad know, it's a very touching and thrilling story, and it would be worth it to go through each verse carefully. But so Nachiketa goes to death. He goes to Yama's house, but Yama's out. Even the gods, they go out, and so Yama is not at home. Now, how he goes to Yama, I mean, if you go to death, you have to, kill yourself or what? That part is not explained in the story. He goes to death's home, Yama's home, and Yama is not there. And so Nachiketa, he waits. And Yama's wife is there and other people, but he refuses even to take a drink of water. He's there to see death, he'll wait. So he's sitting there waiting for Yama, fasting. And Yama finally comes back on the 3rd day, and his wife or his ministers, depending on how you interpret it, tell him, hey, this kid, he's a fiery kid, he's full of shraddha. It brings harm to the householder if you don't treat him properly. So Yama gets a little nervous, and to avert any possible bad things, he welcomes him warmly and, of course, offers him the refreshments, and then he offers him 3 boons. Whatever you want, I'll give you 3 boons. Because you had to wait for 3 days for me, I'll give you 3 boons. And so, first boon he asked for is, and it's kind of a 2-in-1 boon, may my dad recognize me when I come back to him and not be angry with me anymore. So in other words, he's going to go back to his dad, and relations with him and his dad will be smoothed over, they'll be harmonized. So that's the first boon. So he was, oh, fine, granted. And then he asked for the second boon. He asked for a special sacrifice, how to perform a special sacrifice which leads to heaven. And this part is sort of glossed over in the commentaries. But Yama teaches him a complicated ritual which is to be done in order to go to heaven. And Nachiketa learns it very well, and he remembers the whole thing, repeats it back to the teacher after one teaching. And so Yama is so pleased that he grants him an additional boon. And he says, from now on, this sacrifice is going to be called the Nachiketa sacrifice. So he goes on praising Nachiketa and all of that. And then he says, now ask for your 3rd boon. And this is where the Upanishad actually starts getting into the real deep teachings. And it's this question that he asks. He says, there's a doubt. There's this doubt that people have about a human being, about a person, when he dies. Some say, asti, he exists. Some say, nasti, does not exist. This I want to know. This is the 3rd boon that I want from you. I want to know about the secret of death. So that's where then of course, as we know, Yama, first he tests him and says, that's really difficult to know. You ask for something else. I give you anything you want. I give you all the good things in this world. I give you a life of 1,000 years and all the money you could possibly need and all the women and wine and everything you could possibly want. I'll give you all that and more. And then Nachiketa rejects all those things, and then Yama starts teaching him. But this verse is a beautiful verse. This verse expressing the doubt and the wanting to know. So let's chant this verse, and we'll have a meditation on this verse. This is the verse number 20. I'll chant it once through, and then we'll chant and break it up. Yeyam prete vichikitsa manushye asti tyeke nayam asti chaike etad vidvam anushishtastvayaham varanamesha varastritiyah. Okay. Ye prete when you're dead. Ye yam prete vichikitsa manushye asti iti eke nayam asti iti cha eke etad vidvam anushishtaha tvayaham varanam esha varastritiyah. Vara, the boon. Vara is the boon. And tritiyaha, the third boon. This is the third boon of all of the boons. Varanam esha varastitiha. Of the boons which you have given me, this is the third boon. This is the third boon that I want to know. What is that? Vichikitsa. There's this doubt when a person is dead. Manushye asti. He exists. This is one opinion. Iti asti iti. It becomes asti iti eke, means asti iti eke. One of these opinions, some say that asti, he still exists. He is. This is of course the Vedantic idea. He exists. And other people say, nayam asti, he doesn't exist. Nothing, it's all over. At death, it's all over. It all comes to an end. That's it, no more. Some others say that. So this I want to know. Taught by you. Tvaya aham, tvaya anushishtaha. Taught by you, this wisdom, this truth, I want to know. And that's my third boon that I want to know. So this is his doubt, and this is what prompts this is poking the honeycomb of Yama, as it were, getting the real teachings of the Upanishad will flow after this question. So this is the third verse. I propose we take up for a meditation of 5 minutes. We'll chant it together once more. You think we can handle it together? I think we can do it. We'll do it slowly. It's a pretty easy verse. Ye yam prete vichikitsa manushye asti tyeke nayam asti chaike etad vidyam anushishtastvayaham varanam esha varastritiyah. Nachiketa said, there is this doubt about a person when he is dead. Some say he exists, others that he does not exist. This I should like to know, taught by you. This is the third of my boons. This is when spiritual life begins, when we begin to seek the truth. When it's religious life is following the things, but when it's actual spiritual life comes, when this spirit comes, the spirit of seeking. What is? It starts with this kind of question, and then of course the shraddha increases more and more, and then it becomes a conviction and a struggle to realize. But it starts with this kind of questioning attitude. So that's why I love this verse of this young boy, Nachiketa, asking. And who better to ask about death than Yama himself? So it's a beautiful verse. Any questions or comments? Govinda?
Never thought this would be this entertaining. Yeah, going to Yama's house and he's not there. And then Yama not wanting to answer. It's too complicated.
Well, he's testing. Afterwards, he tests the disciple to see if he's really fit to receive. He's a young boy. Is he fit to receive this teaching? So he tests him because the idea is that to realize the truth, you have to be, as it were, finished with your other business in this world. And if you still have strong desires for power and enjoyment, then it's going to be very difficult to realize. So he's wasting his breath if the student's not ready. So he's making sure the student's ready, and then he's really pleased. When he finds that Nachiketa is actually a fit student to receive the teachings, then he's thrilled. And he goes on praising him for a number of verses. So, well, thank you for coming to join me in this study and meditation. I love this kind of approach of meditative. We had our evening meditation, and then we take up the scripture and meditate on it. So it's a wonderful way of studying the Upanishads. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma mritangamaya aviravirma idhi rudrayate dakshinam mukham tena mam pahi nityam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From the unreal, lead us to the real. From darkness, lead us unto light. From death, lead us to immortality. Reach us through and through ourself, and evermore protect us from ignorance by thy sweet, compassionate face. Om, peace, peace, peace.